Okay, so let's get started. We're talking today about setting boundaries while doing the work. And I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to try putting myself in the corner of the screen or next to, and let's see how that goes. And we're going to share sound as well. Okay, so can you all see my face and this screen? Yes? Okay, that's my intention, is to still be a person here while doing this. Okay. I'm going to give people who are maybe still finishing their coffee or grabbing something, or they're logging in from the car, a minute. We're going to start with an activity here. I want to know, of these trains, and the reason it's a train is going to make sense later, what resonates with you today? What train are you feeling like this morning? Just throw that into the chat. And I cannot currently see the chat, so I'll ask Emiliano to share with me what we're hearing. What trains do we see? I personally kind of feeling like number 2 today, which is the closest one to just a happy one, I would say. But there's a little bit of like, okay, and I'm thinking maybe I should find a just happy looking, not slightly panicked train for the next time I do this. Emiliano, which train are you?
That's a great question. I'm feeling pretty good. I mean, I would say two too. I think I'm a two. There's some folks that should in the chat. Let me
What do we got?
Yeah, let's see what folks are feeling. Lana shared that she feels like number 4.
Oh, I get that. Like you're
Yeah.
doing your thing, but oh my God,
A lot of
what is
4,
my job?
a lot of 4s in the chat. Stephanie feels like a 4. Kimberly feels like a 4. Linda feels like a 1, not derailing off track. So that's good, Linda. But yeah, a lot of 4s.
Okay, all right. This, I feel like the last day of a conference, this is number 4. This is the energy. We're chugging along right to the end and we're making it work. Okay, awesome.
Estella shared number 3, so a different number. Thank you, Estella,
Okay.
for sharing that. Number 3.
All right. Number 3's got a lot going on and
Yep.
just this like slight fear, but you just did it. You just got over the hill, over something. And here you are. What'd you say?
I said, way to go, Estella, for getting over that hump.
Whatever that was.
Yes.
Yeah, they're interesting photos because I try to when I'm looking for train photos, there's a lot of very famous train characters, but I'm avoiding trademarks and copyrights. So when you just go for the random ones, you get some interesting options. But that's fine because we show up to conferences and discussions with lots of different energies. Okay. All right. So we're going to talk about setting boundaries while doing the work. And I want to give you an opportunity to set some boundaries with me right away. So what I want you to know is I'm a very flexible facilitator. This workshop was pitched to you as something that would include guided journaling and group discussion. You know what your energy is today. So you have the option to turn on the mic and share your thoughts with me. There are designated questions and opportunities for that. But also I'm interruption friendly. I often spend time working with children and am often interrupted and just go with it, So if you have a thought, feel free to just throw into the chat, I have a thought at any point, and then Emiliano will interrupt me and I will accept that and we will hear what you have to say and you can turn on your mic. You also have the option to participate only in the comment section. And there's going to be some moments where I may suggest that we only do that and we stick to the comments. And you, of course, have the option to just listen. Now, what I think you'll all get the most out of from this presentation is not my ideas, but actually your ideas with each other. There's going to be opportunities to share your expertise and also ask each other for advice. So ideally, some of you will be have some energy to either comment or talk. But if you don't, I've got you. I've got extra video content, and I do have a lot of ideas. I'm a creative art writer, and I spend a lot of time sitting by myself and thinking and writing things down. So if where we're at today is we want to listen, then I can carry us, and that's going to be just fine. Does anybody want to just throw it out there in the chat? Does anybody know they're just listening and that's the plan? Or I want to talk, I'm ready. Or I'm going to comment only. Just put that in the chat if you already know, and we won't hold you to it. I can't even see the chat, so you can change your mind later. All right, and then Emiliano, just let me know if anybody's sharing what their plan is today.
We'll do, Anna. Yeah, thank you. I mean, what a great concept, right? Abby is a mix of all the things, right? So thank you, Abby, for sharing that. We're glad that you're here.
Cool. That's my energy too today.
Yeah. With a smiley emoji face. I forgot.
Ooh,
Yeah.
even
On
a
mix of
smile, that
all-
makes a difference.
Yeah, smiley
That's-
emoji face. That's helpful.
Very comforting.
Yeah. Anybody else? And again, you have the option of sharing your audio, so feel free to talk directly with Anna if you'd like.
Mhm.
Laura says mixed, listening and participating. Thank you, Laura.
Okay, so we got some mixed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
I'm also
good.
aware sometimes people during these meetings, they're driving.
Yeah.
And they're just like, they might really be desperate to say something, but it's not gonna work out.
I'm not going to be
And
possible.
yeah, that's okay.
If you're driving, please be safe.
Yes, please be
Yes,
safe.
yes.
Yeah. The other thing I'd like to tell you is, as of now, the plan is I'm not going to mention any direct acts of violence. But my backup video does have a conversation where people discuss a specific act of violence, but with no details. It's essentially someone saying, oh, I never knew that such could happen at such an age. And I can start the video before that happens or after. So I'm not even sure if we're going to get to that video. It depends on how much you all join in and collaborate with me. But if you know for sure that you don't want to hear that today, just please message Emiliano and say, nope. And that's the code word, is just nope. And Emiliano will just tell me when it gets to that video time where we're going to start it. And we're not going to make any assumptions about why you don't have it in you. There's a lot of reasons to not want it. I shouldn't even say don't have it in you. That's like implies a weakness, but there's so many reasons to be like, nope, today. And I'm fine with that. Okay, so there is a worksheet that I made for the in-person participants, and I'm going to have Emiliano put a link to that. It's a Google Drive. Anyone should be able to view it. You could make a copy of that for yourself and be typing and following along. You could just be thinking these exercises. You could write some on scrap paper, but that is available to you if you would like to participate in a way that is like pretty and organized. And if not, we're just here for the chaos. Okay, so 2 questions for you all. Anybody have any idea what boundaries are? I have ideas, and I have like a slide, but anyone want to throw it out there? What is a boundary in the chat or with a microphone? What is a boundary?
A boundary is a rule or requirement of how you expect someone to engage with you. Maybe it's a limit. But boundaries can also be open. So it's just sort of setting an expectation of how you want to interact in the world with other people.
Ooh. I like that, setting an expectations of how you want to interact in the world with other people. Nice. Any other thoughts?
Nothing yet in the chat.
Abby must have nailed it then.
No,
Everyone's like,
yeah,
"Ooh."
that was a really great definition. Thank you, Abby, so much for sharing that.
Awesome. Okay, now we're going to define the work. So in this context, I consider the work anything that is supporting survivors of the particular type of violence that we're all here So you could be working in prevention, or you could be working in direct survivor support. You could be doing education. You could be doing training people in how to respond. And I'll just say, does anybody here work? And you can just put a yes in the chat if this is you. Does anybody directly talk to survivors on a regular basis? Just put a yes in there. I want to see where we're at.
Stephanie's a yes, Linda's a yes,
Okay.
Abby's a no, Kimberly's a yes.
Okay.
So this is one no.
Okay, so yeah, some people talking to survivors and some who aren't. So it's a mixed group, which is great because we can share the diverse range of experiences with each other. Cool. So the work that I do is very much rooted in my values. So my values are peace of mind, routines, flexibility, and storytelling. And I'd like you to just to make a little internal note, do our values align? And because I think that matters more than if we do the same thing, if we have a job. So as a storyteller, the way that I like to show up most is as a musical theater professional. And the story that I'm most known for telling is Isabel and the Runaway Train. I am the playwright and composer for this story. And I'll show you the Isabel website briefly here. You can see that what we do is we teach SV survivor support through musical theater. So Isabel is the story of a 16-year-old girl who gets runs away from home, and in her world, if you run away from home, you get hit by the runaway train, and then you show up in this world full of runaways. So the show opens with Isabel discovering that she's on a train full of people who run away. Throughout the show, you do learn that Isabel has an SV past, and that the train is an analogy for trauma. So I am a storyteller, and I partner, whenever this show is produced, I partner with orgs like TASA and also crisis response centers. And what happens is the average person is able to build some empathy for survivors and then get involved in the mission, especially because after the show, there's immediately someone to talk to who's like you, who's working here. So the show is a resource that's available for people like you. And I wrote the show because unfortunately, I am a survivor. And as I wrote the show as a form of healing for myself. And then I also had other forms of healing, lots of therapy, so much therapy, my goodness. And like I say, I've been to more therapy than people go to college usually. So then it became, now that it's not a personal healing journey for me, how do I use it in the world? So the show is available to be licensed if you partner with your local theater, or the footage is available to stream if you'd like to do a fundraiser or some sort of outreach program. So I'm here to support you. But during this particular session, I really want to hear from all of you, because at this point in my journey, I don't directly talk with a lot of survivors. I have in the past, but that's not the side of this that I'm on. So you're all going to have more up-to-date, better advice than me. So I'm here to lead that discussion, hopefully. Okay, so we're going to watch a different video now. That is not by me. This is by an artist named Celine Shika, who I suggest you subscribe to on YouTube. She's hilarious. And we're going to have a discussion about this. This is a song she wrote that features the concept of boundaries.
I feel like I'm this former people pleasers entering her villain era. She used to say, okay, sure thing, but now call centers fear her. No, cause every day she says her affirmations in the mirror. Now people say, wow, what a strong boundary she has. Did you hear it? I'm saying no, if that's okay. I just don't feel well. It's not that I hate you or anything. I think you're great. I'll only beat myself up over it for 10 days. Cause I'm ruthless, I did not come here to play. I'm sorry, but I'm done saying sorry. Except for this last time, just now when I said sorry. I'll do that thing you asked me to, but not in a hurry. But if you want me to adjust, it's super chilled. No worries, But if you ask too much of me, I'll use these worksheets from my therapy and just watch out, you'll see how quickly I can draw a boundary. Try me once. Hey, that was uncomfortable. Maybe I should say something. Try me twice. Wait, am I crazy or are you really doing that again? Try me thrice. Okay, I'm gonna say something because my therapist said I should. Try me 4 times. Okay, you're really getting it now. Watch out, I'm bringing the big guns. Now number 5. Hey, I didn't like it when you did that. Would you maybe want to stop? But no worries if not.
All right, and looks like when I made the online version of this, I accidentally clicked one that is just the audio. This is a short video, so I'm gonna say it's worth doing it again with her actual videography right here. So we're gonna go for it.
I feel like I'm this former people pleasers entering her villain era. She used to say, okay, sure thing, but now call centers fear her. Cause every day she says her affirmations in the mirror. Now people say, wow, what a strong boundary she has. Did you hear it? I'm saying no, if that's okay. I just don't feel well. It's not that I hate you or anything. I think you're great. I'll only beat myself up over it for 10 days. Cause I'm ruthless, I did not come here to play. I'm sorry, but I'm done saying sorry. Except for this last time just now when I said sorry. I'll do that thing you asked me to, but not in a hurry. But if you want me to adjust, it's super chilled. No worries. But if you ask too much of me, I'll use these worksheets from my therapy and just watch out, you'll see how quickly I can draw a boundary. Try me once. Hey, that was uncomfortable. Maybe I should say something. Try me twice. Wait, am I crazy or are you really doing that again? Try me thrice. Okay, I'm gonna say something because my therapist said I should. Try me 4 times. Okay, you're really getting it now. Watch out, I'm bringing the big guns. Now number 5. Hey, I didn't like it when you did that. Would you maybe want to stop? But no worries if not. And how does that make you feel?
All right. Okay, I want to hear our thoughts on this very serious piece of art here.
So Laura said that it's so much better with the second video.
Yeah, I'm so
I
glad
couldn't
we
agree,
watched it.
Laura. Yeah, I mean, it's one thing to hear the music and to like listen to the lyrics, which I think can be really useful. Lana said that it was cute. Abby said, but no worries if not. Why do we do this? I do this. So thank you, Abby, for sharing that. Yeah, so it sounds like it resonated with some folks. So I appreciate you sharing that in the chat.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you all so much. My favorite part of it is that when she's like amps herself up to set the boundary, and then the fact that it takes 5 times for her to really do it, I feel like that's so relatable. It's exactly what it's like for me. And I feel like once we learn about boundaries, we feel this pressure to be like perfect boundary setters. And then we're not going to be, it's a skill that we learn.
Absolutely.
So,
Laura shared in the chat that we all chuckled. I'm assuming, Laura, you're watching with some coworkers, but we all chuckled at the reference of worksheets from my therapist, right? That was great. And the cauldron there. And then Linda said she did a countdown, which I love, right? So that was fun. So a lot of really great strategies just about practicing boundaries in that really short short song. I really liked it. It was a great video.
yeah, and I'm so glad we watched the actual video because she's known for like creating a comedy that is actually pretty serious and then wildly overproducing it. Most people don't put so much of a budget into something that's so short. And I just love her. So Celine Chica, subscribe to her. And we're grateful for all of your thoughts.
Yeah, and I dropped the link to that
Okay.
in the chat. So feel free to share and use it and
Yeah.
watch it again. It's now stuck in your head. Now it's stuck in my head. So I'm sure
I've watched it so many times.
I'm sure it'll be playing in all of our heads today. So what a great
Yeah.
Thank you, Anna, for sharing it.
You're welcome. Okay, so our first reflective journaling exercise is going to be to write about a successful boundary setting experience you've had in life in general. So we're starting with something you've done right. And for me, I define a boundary as the difference between yes and no, and it's very blurry. Okay, so I think that there's a lot of times when we set boundaries successfully and we don't even realize it. Just it takes a lot of executive functioning to come to a conference. So you did a bunch of boundary setting just to get here, might have been on autopilot. So just let's find a way to give you some credit for something you've done successfully. Here's my example of a successful boundary. Ordering coffee with my mother. I am from New England. And we are ridiculously loyal to Dunkin' Donuts. And if you are Texans, you may not know this. If we offer you Dunkin' Donuts, we're not offering you donuts. Emiliano knows. We're offering you iced coffee. That is what we're offering you. Oh, just so good to get that message out there. So when I go to coffee with my mother, and my mother's highly intelligent, but she's a kindergarten teacher. She's got a lot that's managing in her brain. So her short-term memory for things that aren't important can be a little weak, which is fine. I don't think she needs to remember it. She's just go take care of the kindergartners, this is fine. So, but when we go to get coffee, she'll see the Dunkin' Donuts and she'll ask, okay, what do you want? And I'll say, I want an iced coffee with oat milk. And then when we pull in, she'll say, what did you want again? And I'll say an iced coffee with oat milk. And then we get closer, and we do this like 6 times. She is incapable of remembering this. I mean, I'm 35. My coffee order has not changed. So at some point, I decided I was tired of doing this. So I changed my behavior. I set a new boundary. And when we pulled up to Dunkin' Donuts, she said, what do you want? And I said, I'm not going to tell you because you're going to forget, and that's okay. And then she kept asking me. So about 6 times I said, I'm not going to tell you. And she laughed. In our family, we love to laugh at ourselves. So this was a very, and I successfully set that boundary. And then when we got to the window, I ordered, I can project, I'm a theater kid, and it went fine. And now every time we get coffee, this is what we do. And it's the same amount of effort to set the boundary as it is to not set the boundary. But I still think it's a success. And I think if I lived in Connecticut, that she would stop asking, that she would realize that I've got her. She doesn't have to do this. But since I'm only there once a year, it's gonna be this way. And that's what it's gonna be. So now notice that my emotional risk with what I shared with you was pretty low. And that's what I'm going to suggest to you is for this exercise to think of a successful boundary that's pretty low emotional risk. And I'll just give you an example of the emotional risk spectrum because it'll come up. So I'll share with you how I'm feeling right now at the 3 levels of emotional risk. So right now I'm feeling good, but I am a little nervous. That's a low emotional risk. And medium risk would say, I'm feeling good, but I am a little nervous because I haven't done an online presentation since COVID. And then the high emotional risk would say, I've been afraid that doing an online presentation will feel like being in a pandemic. So I've taken more risk along the way. And I'll share with you that doing it at the physical conference is nice. I don't feel like I'm in a pandemic because I'm not in my house. I'm not wearing pajamas on the bottom and formal on the top, which was a big thing for me. I'm fully formal. Yeah, so I'm okay. So reflective journaling, successful boundary experience, life in general, low emotional risk. And I'm going to give you about 90 seconds to do that. And I will just going to be silence. I'll check back in. All right, we'll do 10 more seconds to finish up your thoughts. Great.
And Nana, you wouldn't even know that you're nervous.
Thank you.
There's no reason to be nervous. You're in good hands here at TASA. Everybody here clearly is curious and is excited to be in your sessions, and you're doing a phenomenal job. So
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I was raised by a kindergarten teacher and a pastor, so
Mhm.
I do well in a public setting,
Yeah.
and usually the feelings aren't quite visible. So
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
and that's hard, right? When you can't see the friendly faces of the folks in here, and that's okay, folks. Like I said, I want to respect your privacy because we are recording these sessions, but
Mhm.
drop it in the chat. So if you want to share your story,
Yes.
feel free to drop that in the chat as well. Or if it's easier for you, share your audio. I'm sure Anna would love to hear your story.
Yeah, let's hear a story of successful boundaries.
Hello, everyone. This is Lana. This is a pretty common example of setting a boundary, but it happened recently again. So I was at home on a day off and someone was beating on my front door, not just knocking, beating on the front door. I went to answer the door and it was a couple of young men wanting to talk to me about their religion and thrusting pamphlets into my hand. And I stood there with my mouth slightly open just for a minute or two because, of course, I didn't want to be rude. So I just listened and then I started interjecting, I'm really not interested. And they kept going. And I eventually, probably it took me another 3 or 4 minutes, just thrust the pamphlets back in one of their hands and said, have a good day now. And I gently closed the door.
I love that. And yeah, that is people coming to the door is a pretty common thing. And I like how you described that, like the progression of the boundary, they could probably read in your body language that you were not their target audience and they chose not to respect that nonverbal boundary,
Right.
All right. Any other stories?
Nothing in the chat yet, but folks, if you have something you want to share, and thank you, Lana, for sharing that. It's always good to hear your voice. So thank you for sharing your story. Yeah, feel free to share it in the chat. I'm happy to share, if you're not comfortable sharing your audio, I can share it with Anna, but
This is Abby. I can share an example.
Debbie, thank you.
So love my mom, but moms can be tough. And my mom is a product of her time and generation. She's in her 70s, but she often talks about foods as good and bad, talks about weight a lot. And I have a daughter of my own, and I have told her, when you're in my house, we don't talk about foods as good or bad. We don't talk about weight, how much you gained, how much you lost, bodies, that sort of thing. And I would say it's been 75% successful. She slips up sometimes, but that's a boundary that I feel really strongly about and that I spoke up about.
That sounds great. 75% feels like there's a real effort there from her to rise to that. So thank you. That's a great example.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I'm sure a lot of us that resonates with a lot of us. I have a mother-in-law or a mother. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, honestly, Anna, I think that's the hardest boundary for me to set, is with my mother, as well. I probably have too many examples of that, but I think, yeah, it has definitely been a challenge, as her primary, caretaker. And unfortunately, my other siblings aren't able to care for her. So it's been like negotiating those boundaries with her, and have been interesting too. So that really resonated with me, Abby. So I appreciate that. Yeah, it's hard with moms. I feel you.
Yeah.
So Abby, shared that in the chat. Yes, and I'm sure, like I said, everybody can relate to that story with parents or in-laws. So yeah,
For sure.
that's very real.
Yeah. Were there any other ones in the chat or anybody else want to share? Okay. Then we'll go on. So reflective journaling number 2 is we're going to briefly note an example of a successful boundary setting experience that's actually while doing the work. So at your job. And I'll give you, this one's probably going to be more like towards like low to medium emotional risk. So maybe not an example of something very like very intense or detail specific, but something that you did that while you were at work that was successful. Mine would be, there are times that I do talk to survivors, and there was a moment where a survivor was telling me their story and kind of switched from general stuff to details. And one of my key beliefs is that you don't have to listen to the details of a survivor's story to be supportive of them. And I actually interrupted her, which was hard, and told her that hearing her story would be triggering for me. So I said that I couldn't be the person who heard all the details, but I would like to be the person who helps her find the person who could hear all the details. And then what was particularly beneficial for that situation was she was someone who was like me. She's a survivor advocate. So she had a support system and people she could talk with. She had a therapist. So she was quickly able to pivot and still feel like we were having a supportive conversation. So that was a successful boundary setting while doing the work. So we'll do another 90 seconds for thinking about something from your work. We'll do 10 more seconds to finish up.
Anna, I did want to thank you for demonstrating the risk. I think it can be really useful for us. I mean, I hope folks are picking up little tips and tricks also from Anna in terms of her presentation to give people a sense of, especially when we ask people to share something, especially personal or professional. I think it's a great way to just kind of keep that in mind. And also, as a reminder, this is being recorded, so people will see or hear they don't see what you're sharing in the chat, but they do hear your audio. So just keep that in mind. And of course, just wanted to mention that. So yeah, I think it's an important reminder. So thank you, Anna, for framing that in that way.
Yeah, you're welcome. I've been using the emotional risk spectrum since I was in college, and my boss at the time, who taught me about facilitation, taught us the concept of emotional risk. And I can't remember where he learned it. And then I did ask him like 10 years later, and he said, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't remember ever teaching emotional risk. And I was like, well, we don't know. Now I've Googled it. I'm not quite sure.
Well, I think it's a fantastic tool, and like I said, I hope I'm not the only one that's found that useful today. So
Feel free to
Rachel,
email me if you find a source.
yes, please, and use it. I mean, more than anything, I mean, that's the purpose of these kinds of tools. But Rachel shared in the chat that we are a small agency, and I wear many hats in the beginning. I felt like I had to say yes to all opportunities for outreach, example, info table at local events. Now I'm at a point where I can comfortably say no if I'm stretched thin or have learned to delegate when available. Thank you so much, Rachel, for sharing that. That's real. Like another comment that another story I can resonate as a outreach educator.
Yeah, I like that example too, because it's like this boundary has happened, but it was over time. And the boundary doesn't have to be just like one moment. It's this can be a shift of your behavior over time. Anybody else?
And I do want to encourage folks, if something resonates with you in the chat, you can share an emoji with them as well and comment
Right.
them. So use that chat function. I'm glad to see so many folks jump in there. And again, you can share your audio if you're comfortable.
Sure. All right, well, we're gonna move on. So I mentioned I would provide some alternate definitions of boundaries. So I'm not gonna read this whole thing, but you can screenshot it if you want to look up some technical options. But I bolded what I feel is the most important. So dictionary says a boundary is a line or limit where one thing ends and another begins. And then a lot of psychologists will say that it's about knowing where you end and others begin. And for me, I very much simplify it to it's yes and no, and it's a space in between. And the space in between is messy. Okay, so we are going to watch a clip from my show. And what we're going to do then is we're going to look for examples of boundaries being set. And you can share what your thoughts are on those boundaries that you see being set. Okay.
Next stop, scene 2, in which Isabel meets her imaginary friend.
Scene 2? What about scene 1? And I do not have any
Oh,
imaginary.
you must have just gotten here. I'm sure glad I found you. Not very talkative. Ah, well, that's not unusual. Oh, let me get that for you. I carry all the baggage.
Where am I?
Why, you're here. Ugh, with me. Ah, right here, right now. Here and now.
I don't understand.
Oh, me neither. But I could probably figure it out.
Hey, stop that!
What do you think you're doing?
Singing.
But you don't know if that's your job yet.
Why would it have to be my job?
Why else would you do it?
Because it helps me whenever I'm nervous. My dad taught me. He even gave me this silly little pitch pipe that he had, and I tried to look for it before I
Nervous?
left, but
Why would you be nervous? I'm here. Right now. For you. And your baggage.
Hey! Oh! I don't know you!
You don't know yourself!
Oh, yes, I do!
Okay, I'll play along. Hi, I'm the porter. I carry all the baggage. Who are you?
I'm Isabel.
You know your name.
Doesn't everybody?
On the contrary, Isabel, everyone on this train has a role, not a name.
Oh, so you're actors.
No. We're just workers, nothing more, and it's fine that way. Everyone's job is perfectly suited to them. I'm the porter because I am so good at carrying all the baggage, so if you
Stop it!
Gosh, you're stubborn. You know, it's a good thing no one else here knows their name. We'd never get anything done.
Wait, no one here knows who they are? That doesn't make any sense.
We know what we do. That's about as sensible as we need it to be. Just out of curiosity, what else do you know about yourself?
Why should I tell you?
It seems logical.
Why?
Because I want you to tell me.
Well, you can't always get what you want, Porter.
Oh, look, I am just trying to make conversation. No one else makes me do this. Usually they just get hit by the train and they give me their baggage. Bada bing, bada boom.
I was hit by the train?
Why else would you be here?
Am I dead?
I don't think so. I know someone who's dead, but you look nothing like her.
Oh. Okay. So what do you want to know?
Okay, so what boundaries did we see being set in this scene? As a reminder, we've got Isabel, new to the world, and we've got the porter. His job is to carry the baggage.
Yeah, feel free to, again, share in the chat or share your audio if you're comfortable. Laura said she didn't want to give Porter her bags.
Yes, very firm boundary of not giving the bag to him. I also think there was a boundary of information I talk a lot when I speak about survivor support about the idea of information consent, that sometimes a survivor tells their story and then it becomes decided by the world that that means their story can be told anywhere. And it's very important to get consent for information at every step of the sharing. So
No, I
he
appreciate
feels, Hmm?
I'm sorry, Anna. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, please do. What's up?
Laura shared also that that she did not want to share her personal details, right? To your point. So yeah, you were speaking on it. I apologize for interrupting you.
No, that's great. I'm glad that others are seeing it as well. What about him? Is he setting any boundaries?
Linda shared that he also had his set of boundaries by being persistent and trying to get her bags.
Yeah, he identifies as a porter. It's his job. That's the boundaries. I take the bags. You know, this is an example of boundaries clashing.
And I just want to say, Anna, is fantastic writing, fantastic performances by these actors.
Thanks.
And I love the use of the baggage, right? Like it's just so symbolic and so powerful when you take a step back and look at what's happening in that particular scene. So I've missed every opportunity I've had to go to one of your performances, so I apologize for that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I haven't had an opportunity to see the full performance, so I appreciate that you're sharing some of I've seen the videos online and seen clips of your work, but yeah, I hope everybody has an opportunity to see your work in person.
Thanks. I appreciate it. I'm so glad that you're getting to interact with it. Yeah, the baggage is an analogy. It's very on the nose.
Yeah. Sure.
Okay, good. Well, thanks for sharing your thoughts about the boundaries in that scene. As a playwright, I write works of drama, and drama does not just happen on stage, okay? So when I think about my boundaries, when I set a boundary, I am declining an opportunity to behave dramatically. And my goal is to have drama be something that is happening in my creative work, not in my life, as much as I can. So what exactly is drama? I did not define it, but other people have. In particular, a psychologist named Dr. Stephen Cartman in 1968 defined dramatic behavior in this way. So he said that if anyone is being dramatic, they are being a persecutor, a rescuer, or victim. And I do suggest that you draw this triangle. So it should be upside down with victim at the bottom. And there should be arrows between these terms, because we can start out trying to rescue someone and then our energy can switch to like being very intense, and we could end up acting more like a persecutor, and then we could get called out and we might feel very like upset with ourselves and shame ourselves and being a victim. Like, where is this something that we're all doing and we're circling through? Now, as much as I love this resource, I am going to tear it apart for a minute, because what I don't want us to do is decide that these three terms are bad and we're bad for living in them, especially because I'm talking to people who literally rescue people. So if I were presenting to a bunch of firefighters, how facetious would it be to say, Don't rescue people. We need them to literally rescue people. Some of you are the people that if someone is actively being harmed, they call you. And you go stop it, go rescue them, please. That's wonderful, okay? And then when it comes to the victim situation, I am a survivor, and I'm actually a late adopter of the term survivor. I didn't start using survivor till about 2018 because I felt like I was a victim and I didn't like the pressure not to be acknowledged. Like I was a victim. There's nothing I could have done. What happened to me was not my fault at all. And I wanted that victimhood to be identified, and I didn't want to be shamed for feeling that way. So it took me a minute to get on board with the survivor movement. And now I am on board with that movement. And then when it comes to persecutor, well, that is a term that is going to be used differently with different people. So I am a member of the queer community, but I am married to a man. So I have a privilege when I walk around in the world with my husband that I wouldn't have if I had happened to partner up with someone of a different gender. And the way that I would be treated when I set boundaries would be different in that situation. And I'm a woman, so there are times that my husband might set a boundary and be seen as really like assertive. And I might be seen as too much and needy. And then I'm a white woman, so there are places where I can yell and cry with very different response than for a woman of color. And women of color are more likely, when setting boundaries, to be called aggressive or antagonistic or lots of other terms. So I could see that this being misused in that way of like, oh no, you're being dramatic, you're being a persecutor, and that being just totally a convoluted use of it, okay? So that's me tearing them apart for a minute. But the way that we're gonna use this is, well, I'll give you an example from my own life. When I was 3 years old, I went to McDonald's. My mother brought me to McDonald's, and I was playing in the ball pit because we still did ball pits in the 90s, and no one thought about how gross they were. And a little boy came up to me and was pretending to be like a dragon. So he's going rah, rah. And my mother stood up and looked around for this boy's grown up, and no one came forward. So he got a little closer to me and said, rah. And my mom was like, okay, well, if no one's going to step up, I'm going to step up. But I, the 3-year-old me, just made myself really tall, and I just screamed at the kid and I said, run, and he just freaked out and ran away. My mom said, okay, I don't need to intervene. So I had this like roar inside me. Fast forward, I'm 13. I go to a big middle school. We get picked up in the morning by the bus, and then they put us in the cafegimatorium to mill about like cattle until it's time to go to school. So you got to stay moving. You got to do the shuffle because it's just thousands of children and just like livestock. And someone steps on me and they don't realize, and they stay there. And I thought, that's fine. I don't need them to move. And then I started to think, maybe it's very important to them that they step right here. But then I started to realize, wait, what if they're a really nice person, and if they knew they were stepping on me, they would feel bad? I definitely can't tell them that they're stepping on me because it's been so long. Now it's very awkward. So this is like a significant amount of time that someone is just stepping on me while they talk to their friends. And I just waited until they left. So you're all too familiar with what can happen in a child's life between 3 and 13 that takes away that raw and that switches that personality, So what had happened was I was literally victimized. I'm not going to go into the details. And then I had a victim mentality that stuck around, and I saw people as harmful, and I saw myself as weak. And I have spent years and years, and I can say that I've got my raw back. I can promise you, if you stepped on me, I would tell you. I've got that, And I celebrate that, but I also do have to watch out because sometimes the victim mindset comes back for me. If somebody tells me, you should call your congressperson. My first instinct isn't like, yeah, it's like, well, that's not gonna do anything, you know, and I have to realize, okay, I'm back in the cafeteria. I'm being cattle again and step out of that. So I would say that when I'm in the victim mindset in a way that is maladaptive and just really not accurate, I am in the drama triangle and I'm behaving dramatically and I need to step outside of it. And in my experience, for people who literally rescue others, they sometimes feel that they need to be rescuing when they don't. It can be very hard to walk that back and step outside of it. And a good boundary to set is to figure out, when do we rescue and when do we not? And that's what I want us to create a framework for today.
I love that.
So,
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. I mean, it's powerful, right, to hear from a survivor's, you know, in terms of that, your lived experience. You know, again, and there are probably survivors in the room too, so I'm sure there are other folks that can resonate with that as well. Linda shared, sometimes in setting boundaries, we have to be sure we're not requesting someone to do or not do a thing, rather than clearly communicating what you need from them. And Linda agreed that that's an awesome story. I mean, I think I appreciate it, right? And I think it's kind of, though, it's also, I did want to say, Anna, it's an expression of like how much work you've done on yourself, right? To be that reflective and even when you were a child, to be so empathetic, and to your ability to process that, right? Like that is something, and that's such an important skill that we can give to our children, or the children that we're working with, whether they're clients or whether they're in our communities or whether we're raising children. What an important skill for them to be able to kind of to speak for themselves, right? But to also to be empathetic in terms of other people's experiences or their needs, or to really help them understand in that particular moment. So thank you for sharing that story. Anyone else want to share? Feel free again to share your audio, or feel free to share in the chat. I'm also curious if folks have heard of the drama triangle before. I think this is like, it wasn't new to me. I don't think I've seen this. I might have heard of it before, but when you said drama, I was thinking about performance, right? Like as a screenwriter, you know, as a director yourself. And so I was like, okay, drama, what drama? And we're talking about sort of like the other drama.
Yeah.
No other questions or comments in the chat?
Okay, and we'll keep going. So I want to root this concept of behaving dramatically in an everyday life situation. So I want you to imagine that we're at a coffee shop and it's called Cup of Drama. Why not? Okay. And I'm going to pretend to be 3 different customers at the coffee shop. The coffee shop is in Austin. So my character at every time is going to order an oat milk latte, because that's a very Austin order. And I'm going to show you what responding to a barista who does not successfully make my drink looks like in each of these roles. Okay. So if we were in person, I would have somebody be the barista, and it's just so silly, but we're just going to go straight for it. Yeah. Oh, Emiliano said he'll be the barista. Okay. So then your lines here, you're going to ask me, what is your order? And then you're just going to say, here you go. Okay. After I tell you my order, what do you want me to do first? Persecutor, rescuer, or victim?
Persecutor.
Okay. We're going to go for it. So I'm going to, just so you know,
lady, welcome to Drama Coffee Shop. What can I get you?
I'd like an oat milk latte.
All right. I'll start working on that. Did I do it?
Great.
I'm not the greatest.
Yeah.
actor, so
Okay. So then well, we don't have to be great actors. We can still get the message across. Okay. So I'm going to take my sip of my pretend drink.
Okay.
This is the worst latte I've ever had. I don't even think it qualifies as a latte. I don't understand how you got a job here. You must know somebody. Your mom must have made a call, because you're absolutely unqualified to do this or any job. That was mean. That was very mean. That was me being a persecutor. I went to a very
Gosh, Anna.
I know. As a playwright, I have to write villains and it's the worst part. I have to always take a break when I write villain dialogue.
And scene.
Whew.
There you go.
End scene, yes. Okay, what do you think? Should I do the rescuer next or victim?
Yes. Rescuer, please.
Okay.
Hi there, lady. What can I get for you? Welcome.
Hi, I would like an oat milk latte, please.
Okay, let me work on that. I'm gonna spin the latte little thing. Here you go.
Oh,
Now,
thank you. And I'll take.
enjoy it. Have a great day.
Thank you so much. Oh, okay, this is a pretty good drink, but I gotta tell you, I used to work at a coffee shop and my boss, Hank, he just had a trick that I'm gonna show you and it's gonna change your life. So let me come back there. I know
Well,
customers usually.
I gotta go help this other customer.
No, it's fine. I'm actually wearing slippers and shoes and everything. Like I'm gonna show you how to make a
No, I'm
cappuccino.
sorry. Customers can't come to the back. I appreciate it. I'm sorry. I have to help the next customer, but thank you.
End scene. We did it. And your character
I'm
said
getting really
boundary.
good at this, Anna.
You're ready, yeah. Okay, and then now we'll do victim.
All right. Good morning. Welcome, lady. What can I get you?
Hi, I'd like an oat milk latte.
You got it. You got it. Let me start that for you. And yeah, let me work on that latte. Oh man, this is the best. Here you go. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Have a
Okay,
great
thank you.
Yeah.
Here's a $10 tip.
What? A 10? Oh my God. Everybody, let's ring a bell. Let's celebrate $10. Thank you so much. Wow. You really made
And
my
see-
day. You really made my day. Most folks don't tip, and I really needed that tip. So thank
There
you.
you go.
Thank you so much.
And end scene. So I would say with the course in that context, my drink was not what I wanted. And I am not advocating for you, like, please tip, even if your stuff isn't perfect, because the service industry people rely on those tips. But if somebody makes my drink wrong and I don't tell them and then give them a very nice tip, that would probably signal a victim mindset of, that's letting someone step on me a little bit. Okay, so
I'm curious, and I apologize.
sure.
Do you get resistance to this model? I mean, I don't know if other folks are thinking this, or I'm kind of curious, but when you talk to folks that may include survivors and
Mhm.
other folks, do you get resistance from this kind of model in terms of, like, I appreciate the way you've described it, and that was a lot of fun, so that you could demonstrate what that looks like, but I'm curious, how do people receive it?
I think the resistance I've gotten is to adopting the term persecutor.
Mm,
That has been very hard. So I've changed the way that I pitch this. I like to talk about its flaws first. And the coffee shop analogy has helped make it rooted in the real world more
Yeah.
than, but prior to using the coffee shop analogy, it was hard to accept that we might be in these roles. But yeah, it's a tool,
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it.
Sure.
Just for folks who are thinking about how to articulate this and just kind of, but I think the coffee, my acting chops kicked in there a little bit. It took me a minute.
You
but
did, you killed it.
You're a great director. Thank you, Anna, for that.
Thank you.
Any questions or comments about that exchange, or concerns, or that's okay too. So I definitely want to encourage folks to drop those in the chat, or you're welcome to share your audio if you have any thoughts about that. All right.
Yeah. I will say that example that somebody shared, I think it might have been Lana, about someone coming to their door. I feel like that was a good example of setting the boundary without being a persecutor. Like that, or I wish there was kind of like a less harsh term than persecutor, but I think that was a good one.
Yeah, I think, I couldn't agree more. I thank you for referring back to that one. I'm sure we've all experienced that, but that's a good example.
Yeah. Okay, so this is a little bit of a risk. But and we're not gonna do a group share about this one, but on your own, I'd like you to imagine either scenario 1 or 2. And imagine how you could have made it worse by being a persecutor, rescuer, or victim, okay? Like I said, we're not gonna share this. The reason I suggest this is often when we do something good, we then imagine how we could have done it better and we feel shame. So I would like you to reinforce how good a job you did by imagining making it worse. And I am going to do an example of that, back to that example with my mother. Like, I could have been a real persecutor to her. I would never say this to my mother, ever. I don't believe it at all. But I could have said, when she said, what do you want from Dunkin' Donuts? I could have said, I'm not going to tell you, you're the most forgetful person ever. And how did you even raise 4 children with such memory? Like, would never. Just, I apologize to my mother for even the pretend thought. Okay, but I didn't do that. I was kind, as I said, the boundary. So this one is going to probably feel more of a medium or high emotional risk, and that's why we won't share it. So here we go. 90 seconds. Could it have been worse? We'll do 10 more seconds to finish.
And I just wanted to welcome, somebody just joined, probably joined us. I just missed it. So welcome. We're glad that you could be with us this morning. And yeah, feel free to use that chat if you have any questions or comments. And thank you so much for being here, all of you. Really appreciate it. You know, we're winding the conference down here in Denton, Texas, but we hope that we really appreciate you sticking around and enjoying the rest of Anna's workshop.
Yes, and I do encourage you to check out the beginning, because these terms here of persecutor, rescuer, victims, I did a bunch of setup for exactly what they mean. So just put some grace around them if you're just coming in now, and you can check out those later. So if you made your example and it was worse, a lot of times when we think of what could have been worse, it's funny. So I would suggest you could share it with a friend or a family member. You could tell them, it's a good chance to tell them about the drama triangle, and you can share, like, this is what actually happened, and imagine if I'd done this. And yes, but we're going to skip over sharing it with each other. So now what? Well, just having a list of ways not to behave is not helpful, and really leans into shame. So we're going to redefine successful behavior by contrasting it with the drama triangle, and we're going to consider that like our boundary support plan. So you get to decide, instead of rescuing, I will do this. And you can pick your own words, but here's some people who made other words. So we've got a winner's triangle, where instead of being a persecutor, you commit to being assertive. And instead of being a rescuer, you commit to being caring. Instead of being a victim, you commit to being vulnerable. We also have the Quinby durable triangle, where you can commit, instead of persecuting, to persevering. Instead of rescuing, you are going to be someone who reaches out. And instead of being a victim, you're going to be someone who's vulnerable. And then we've got David Emerald, and this one's gone viral. And I've had people tell me, oh no, David Emerald started the drama triangle, which he's not claiming to. It's just Cartman has been around for a while, and his website isn't like the most shiny, up-to-date thing, you know. So this guy has gone viral. So his replacement triangle, the empowerment dynamic, is more known. And in this one, instead of being a persecutor, you're a challenger. And instead of being a rescuer, you're a coach. And instead of being a victim, you're a creator. And so this one's got alliteration to it, which a lot of people like. But you can make up your own words. And I want to reinforce that, like, if you are being a persecutor, rescuer, or a victim in your mindset, that's probably on the flip side a good thing. Every behavior is both is not just good or bad. Almost every behavior. There's some behaviors we can agree are just a problem, but most behaviors are good or bad. An example would be that when people like what I'm doing, I get told that I'm very persistent and committed. And if they don't like what I'm doing, I get told I'm stubborn and I don't know when to quit. And it's the same behavior, it's just interpreted differently. So I'll encourage you to draw a different triangle, and we're going to put in some alternate words, and to consider your new triangle your boundary support plan. And I would love to hear in the chat, or actually I'll give you a minute to just think on it and see if you want to think about your own words. So we'll wait 60 seconds.
I like how you reframe the triangle. That's useful for folks to think about. So thank you, Anna. Nana, is there a place where we can find more about Dr. Stephen Karpman's work?
Yes, KarpmanDramaTriangle.com. He wrote this, the first paper was in 1968. He redid it in 2007. And then other people have written about it. And he does have like an updated PDF where he goes really deep into like all of these alternative triangles. And that PDF, I've only skimmed it. It reads a little judgy to me. And in particular, he actually, these three options are from his website, but he calls them okay triangles. So, you know, while I like the original drama triangle and it's a tool that I use, I haven't done enough deep research to like fully endorse everything that Dr. Stephen Karpman has said between now and 1968. But I do like talking about it. So I'm welcome. If anybody does more research and wants to discuss, we can.
That's great. I dropped it in the chat. So if folks are curious and they want to go to the source. So it's Karpman.
KarpmanDramaTriangle.com.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
that website is in the packet on
Excellent.
page 2. There's that one there too.
And that was the first link that we shared, correct?
Yeah, the first one. So does anybody want to share the alternative triangle that they have either chosen or made on their own?
And you're welcome to share that in the chat, or you can share your audio too. So feel free to do that. I imagine there's no wrong or right answer here, Anna, right?
I don't believe so. I think all these triangles are more than okay. I think they're great, and everyone does a really good job with that.
Yeah.
For me, today, the durable triangle resonates with me. Persevere, reach out, because I want to be somebody who helps when there's a problem. And I like the idea of reaching out and like checking in, and like the way that you can interpret reach out a lot of different ways. And I listen to a lot of Brene Brown, so vulnerability.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Emiliano? Is there one that feels good to you?
That one as well. I think that, you know, that definitely resonates with me. Rachel shared, I really like persevere.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rachel, for sharing.
Yeah, because I know some people who I feel are pretty antagonistic, but then their motivations are good. They're trying to do something, like there's an outcome they're trying to prevent. And that doesn't mean I agree with the behavior, or want to be like very close friends with them, but like there's some perseverance there.
Mm.
And maybe with the right community support, that could be channeled differently. Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's there. I'll leave it up for just another 5 seconds in case anyone wants to do a screenshot.
Hmm.
Okay. Cool. So we got our boundary support plan, done our share. And actually, before we watch more of the show, I want to see if people are feeling like answering these questions first, okay? And if we don't have the discussion energy, we'll watch and we'll talk. But does anybody have any advice for setting boundaries that they'd like to share with the other advocates here? The context being, it's someone's first day on the job. If it was someone's first day on the job in advocacy, what would you tell them about
Yeah.
boundary setting?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, folks, feel free to share that in the chat or share your audio if you're up to sharing still. And it could be just a word, a phrase, a quote. I mean, there's so many different ways of sharing advice. Abby shared, the difficulty isn't usually in setting the boundary, but it can be hard to keep the boundary. Ooh, put that on a put that on a post-it and put it up.
Yeah,
That's
I get a
great,
sticker.
Abby. That's really good. Stephanie shared, it's okay to say no if you can't do something.
Right. Hmm.
And Laura shared, use *67 when calling clients, if not calling from office line. That's a really,
I like that.
that's really thoughtful. Yeah, that's
R67 is it masks your
Yeah.
call, right?
correct. Yeah. So thank you, Laura, for sharing that. That's good advice, right? Like what, so that you're, especially if you are using a personal, person.
Okay,
Please, Diane.
okay. Yeah, that's not gonna work. So what about,
I think we were just getting Diane's discussion. Stick, Laura said, stick to your work schedule. Abby's shared boundaries are love by Brene Brown. Yeah. Boundaries are love.
Boundaries are love.
Mhm.
That's probably not exactly how she says it, but she just talks about her most boundaried relationships are the ones that she values the most,
Thank
so
you, Abby.
I know it can feel really dysregulating to set a boundary,
Mm,
and it's hard, but
Yeah.
remembering that when you value what you do and your relationships, when you love, people, then you set
Mhm.
those limits so they can interact with you in a healthy way.
I love that. Thank you, Abby. It's definitely worth searching for. I'm sure she's written about it, talked about it. So I'm sure there's a video, an article about that. So definitely folks check out Brene Brown. And then Laura shared, always have tissues around and offer water. That goes a long way. Yeah, these are very Laura, you got the practical advice. I appreciate that. And then Linda shared, set your boundaries by clearly communicating your needs and be respectful but firm. Absolutely. Yeah, that's tough. I'm boundaries are tough, especially with to Abby's point, with the people that we love and that we live with, right? Like that's hard. And so, yeah, but if you think about it as an act of love, right, to Abby's point, I think that's really powerful. So thank you all so much for sharing in the chat.
Absolutely. Okay, one more open discussion question, and then we'll see how that goes, and we'll do a little more videos if we don't feel like talking for the rest of this. So what questions do you have about setting boundaries while doing the work? And the context would be just trying to get a little bit better at your job. So in my yoga studio, sometimes the teachers say, what do you need to do to be 10% more comfortable? Like just what questions do you have about improving your work? And also, probably can't answer them, so you'll have to answer them for each other. Anybody, any questions? Just gonna give it a minute in case people are typing in the
Thank
chat.
you on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm curious on it, in your opinion, while folks are doing that, do you think the way that we approach boundaries are like the language of boundaries is different for different people in terms of gender, age? You know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
yeah, so I'm just kind of curious about like your thoughts about how we approach conversations with different people.
I'd say for age, privacy is so different. One time, my grandfather, I was like, I gotta go. And he's like, where are you going? And he's like, oh, I apologize. You don't have to tell me that. And I was like, pretty sure I'm gonna put it in my Instagram stories where I'm going, like it's just his definition of what is private was so different than mine. So I can imagine having, if you're used to working with one demographic and one age group and you get a client who is in a different one, then their expectations might be very different. I also wonder if Gen Z shares and Gen Alpha share way more personal information with their people that they go to help with than others, or maybe they don't. I'd love to hear what people in the field
Yeah,
are experiencing.
that's an interesting thought, right? About how much people share now on social media. I mean, I think especially when we watch reality TV, and reality TV is not a new thing. Reality TV was introduced on MTV a long time ago. So, but the concept of sharing your life, especially on social media, sharing aspects of your relationship or your work or your interests, those things, people share a lot of stuff. I mean, so I know I do on social media.
Yeah.
So to your point about generational differences, right? So any questions or comments in the chat, or if you're comfortable, you can share your audio too with Anna and
Yeah. You mentioned gender as well. I will say that my experience is that male identifying people, particularly cisgender male identifying people, don't apologize as much when they set boundaries
amen.
and aren't expected to.
True. I mean, I agree. I mean, I struggle with that. And so, that's real. I think we need to, boundaries are hard, and I think it's a practice. I think to your point, I think just, our willingness to come to today's workshop and to be reflective and to understand this is a practice and we're not going to get it perfect every time. And so, yeah, Linda shared, it is harder with age groups. Younger people, language is so different than older folks, right? Than older people. So thank you, Linda, for sharing that. That's true. Yeah. I mean, I think we have to, figure out what the language is. What does boundaryless look like? Especially for, I have a 15-year-old son, and boundaries for him look very different in terms of our boundaries or my boundaries with my partner that he has with his partner. He's dating a girl, and so their boundaries look different from the boundaries that I have with my wife, who we've been together for a long time, right? So those things look different, they sound different, and yeah, I appreciate that, Linda. Anyone else?
Okay, well, we're gonna watch a little bit more of the footage of the show, and this time I'd love for you to see what dramatic behavior do you notice? And this is the first scene of the show. So if you were to watch the whole show, which it'll be streamable, I stream it once a quarter, so the next time is September 5th, I believe. You can check on the Isabel website. It's streamable, it's licensable if you want to stream it. I'll also mention that for advocates, if you're working with an agency like the ones who are members of TASA, you can access the footage for a pay what you can basis. We can just work with whatever's available because obviously your funding is going to very intense things. And any theaters who want to license it, if they work with you, they also have a pay what you can option, but only if they work with you. Okay, so let's watch a little bit more of the show. And what dramatic behavior do you see? And know that I was writing the show thinking about the drama triangle. It's how I developed the characters.
Tell me about your parents.
Ugh, why?
It's always the parents.
Fine. first, I'll start with my mother.
Oh, so it's her fault you're here.
No, I don't know. Hi, Mom.
Hello, Isabel. How was school today?
Fine.
What did you do?
I don't know, learn things.
I hear that happens there.
As you always do. Very good. Are you hungry?
No, Mom.
Me neither.
You never are lately. Well, you must eat anyway.
As I always have to.
And you always will.
Indeed. Well,
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 why don't you go and do your homework until I have your dinner ready for you?
because I don't want to.
I sure wouldn't.
It's not optional, Isabel.
Oh, you asked me if I had a reason not to. It sounded pretty optional to me.
You've got a point there.
I said
I don't want to study, so I'm not going to.
Way to go! And then you ran away.
No. Wait, how do you know I ran away?
It's a runaway train, Isabel. Keep up. What happened next?
She
will
discussed
discuss
it
this with
with
your
my
father.
father.
Okay, I see. So it's his fault you're here.
No! I don't know. They think I can't hear them whenever they discuss me, but this house echoes.
Well,
What's wrong?
well, your daughter isn't herself lately, I can tell you that. Did I tell you that she asked me to take the vanity out of her room? Most expensive birthday present I ever gave her, and she takes one look at it and says, send it away. Threw herself in her bed, the silly thing, so dramatic. She's never hungry, and she never does her homework. All that child ever did was homework her whole life. She barely even had any friends, always with those books of hers. Something is not right. You need to fix this. Normal people are hungry. Make our child a normal person.
You expect me to help her? I can't make someone hungry, can I?
Just talk to her. She likes you better than me. I'm always the bad guy, making her do horrible things like study and eat and accept expensive gifts. All you ever do is say, listen to your mother, do something else. Help me.
So you want me to go to our daughter and tell her to listen to you, but without directly telling her to listen to you?
Exactly.
You know, when I was 16, I didn't even like anyone else. I didn't even like you at 16.
I don't know what you were talking about. At 16, I was perfect. That one was perfect too until a few weeks ago.
All right, so any thoughts on dramatic behavior we see in this scene? We see signs of victim thinking, persecutor thinking, rescuer thinking from anyone.
Yeah, Abby shared that the mom, I can't do anything right.
Yeah. Hmm.
Victim, Abby, victim question mark, Abby shared.
Yeah, yeah. In the in-person discussion, there were people saying that they feel like they saw these characters all bouncing through the three roles going in between.
Yeah, you can see that Linda shared hearing, but not really listening, blaming, no accountability for their own action.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, thanks folks for
Yeah.
sharing the chat. We have a few more minutes here, so if you have any thoughts or if you have any questions or comments, please drop them in the chat or share your audio with Anna. We want to make sure that to get folks out of here on time, and so
We'll go on to our, final slide here. So yes, you are welcome if you've got a final thought you want to share with me, to do that. But I'll just let you know that I am here for you if you're looking for ways to change hearts and minds and engage people. I'd love to talk about how we can collaborate. This is my website. And then TASA has a wonderful survey that you can fill out that share feedback about this session and then the whole conference. And I really appreciate every one of you for being a part of this. And I hope that it has helped you to make a have a new way of thinking about what a boundary is for you and how you're going to do your work differently. So thank you all so much, and you're welcome to head out or stay and chat if you have more thoughts.
Yes, please. Thank you so much, Anna. Yeah, folks, please, there's a link in the chat as well as that QR code to complete the survey. Please take a moment to do that before you, go to lunch or before you move on to the next thing. So, Lana said thank you. Abby said thank you. Thank you all so much, and thank you, Anna, for today's webinar. It was it's fantastic, and thank you everybody for engaging with Anna and the questions, comments, all the coming in and sharing your audio. So we really appreciate all of you and hope that you enjoy the rest of your day. And thank you, Anna, for sticking around for a few minutes if folks have questions or comments. And I'm going to go ahead and turn off the recording so that if you do have a question or comment that you'd like to share, you can do that without it being recorded.
Great plan.